Hey guys, it's Jimbo's Grapes here again, back with another tutorial. So today's tutorial is going to be a quick guide on how to mine. Now it's pretty simple, so I figured I would just dive right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the robots. So the first one you're probably going to want to get is the Organo. And these guys are really cheap, really cheap. You can get them for 300,000 or 400,000 nick just off the market. Um, all of the robots, the Organo, the Teramis, and the Riveler, these are all your mining robots, your heavy, your mech, and your light. And all of them actually have very similar bonuses for mining. As you can see, all of them have mine amount increased and miner module cycle time, and it's all 3%. The only difference is that the Teramis and the Riveler use advanced robotics, so if you are planning on using them eventually, don't put too much points into basic robotics if you're going to be trying to upgrade. And then the only other difference is how many miners they can have and their available head slots. The reason I don't really point out the leg slots is that the leg slots don't really give you any additional power to mining. It can give you a little bit more defense if you're going to be mining on beta or somewhere in a dangerous spot, but as far as raw mining power goes, the main thing you're going to be looking at is the head slots. So that being said, the Riveler actually only gets one more additional industrial chassis slot as opposed to the Teramis. So although it is 20% better, going from the Teramis to the Riveler isn't actually that huge of an increase. Same as going from the Organo to the Teramis. Although, like I said, the Organo uses basic robotics and the Teramis and Riveler use advanced robotics. So if you're going to plan on doing anything other additional with your account that's using mechs and heavy mechs, you're going to want to hold off on the Organo in order to bump up the advanced robotics, because you'll be wasting your points on basic robotics if that's what you're doing. That being said, if it's just a starter mining account and you know you're only going to be mining, putting a few extra points into basic robotics isn't going to hurt you too much. So if you just want to get that mining up, by all means go at it. So these are the kind of bots you want. Myself, using that great tutorial on how to make multiple accounts, I just made a few accounts. Use the Organos, it's super cheap. You can gear up an Organo really easily and just create a few extra accounts, and that's pretty much all that you need. But if you like mining and you're a dedicated miner, you can go up into those higher bots. Now, I'm just going to show a really basic setup, and this is as basic as you can get. With the Organo, 2 industrial tunings, a geoscanner, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and just small miner modules. Now, one thing that people might not know is that miner modules, small and large, both mine the same amount per charge. So I've actually got a little sheet right here, and I'll throw this in the description of the video. These are the set amounts that you mine. What makes you mine more is increasing the bonus to your mining or increasing your cycle time. So if you were to have 0 bonus, this is how much you would mine. Now, I got these numbers by myself, so they might be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure that they're accurate. So don't take this for guaranteed exactly what it is, but I'm pretty sure they're extremely close. If not, they're within about 5% of what you actually get. So whether you use small miners or medium miners, this is how much you get per charge. Okay? Now the difference is, and the reason that you'll want to go to medium miners is that the cycle time is different. Now, this isn't a huge deal, but it does end up making a big difference over a long time. So, as you can see here, the worst small minor module, the cycle time is 15.5 seconds, and the best medium minor module is 10 seconds. So, that's 33% faster, more than that. So that'll give you, 33 to 40% more yield per hour. So this is important. And this is the main reason that you would want to get to max, is because you have the accumulator to be able to use these medium minor modules. And the Riveler, you can comfortably throw in some accumulator rechargers and have tier 4s running very fast, and it won't be a problem with the accumulator. But for the sake of mine, guys, I'm not really putting too much into mining. It's not really my favorite thing to do. So I just go with all tier 1 stuff, no problem, and I don't have to skill too heavily into it, and it allows me to get enough ore to survive. So again, you could in the lows put you could put a shield if you're mining on beta, give you a little bit of extra protection. You could put a lightweight frame, be able to run away or run towards ore a little bit better. You could put accumulator rechargers to make sure that your accumulator is good if you get up to higher level miners. I know that there's some people, I will say right now, I barely go below 90% accumulator with this setup. So you probably could squeeze in a medium miner module and then put some accumulator rechargers in here. Myself, I like to keep it simple. This is what I go with, but you could experiment a bit and make it a little bit more efficient, a little bit more yield per hour. Anyways, that being said, this is what I use, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, what you could do is, if you're mining with multiple accounts, is you could have only one or none with the geoscanner and fit in an extra industrial tuning. The industrial tunings are pretty huge because they aren't a linear increase, they actually multiply how much your yield is. So that is really good. So you want to be able to fit as much industrial tunings as you can, because that's going to be one of your biggest increases to yield. Especially if you start getting tier 4s. Tier 4s are twice as good. So one tier 4 is equal to 2 tier 1s, which is, again, going to increase your yield per hour by quite a bit. Now, again, this is just a simple setup. If I get 4 or 5 accounts mining, I get a pretty good amount per hour, but again, you can always improve that, make it better, make more nick per hour, if that's what you're going for. So this is the gear you want to use, that's the robot you want to use. Let's go over what your extensions are. Now, one of the biggest things is actually going to be your robot control, because as we saw for the Organo, the Termis, and the Riveler, advanced robotics gives you 3% yield per level and 3% cycle time. No other extension is as good as that. So advanced robotics and basic robotics are actually going to be your best extensions for increasing your yield per hour. Now, that being said, again, you can see how much EP I have left on this guy. I'm still kind of deciding what I want to do with this account. I've got six basic robotics, 5 advanced robotics, so nothing too crazy. I'm not really getting up to the 8, 9, 10 territory yet, because I'm still kind of deciding what I want to do with this guy. But again, the biggest thing you want to add if you're trying to increase yield per hour is advanced and basic robotics, depending on if you're going to stick with the Organo or if you're going to move up to the Termis or Riveler. Or, again, advanced robotics is an extremely useful skill, one of the best ones in the game, very versatile, goes with pretty much every mech and heavy mech. Well, it does go with every mech and heavy mech. Now, this next ones you're going to want to look at, of course, are mineral extraction. Now, on this guy, I did actually put up the advanced mining, basic intensive, advanced intensive, and expert intensive. These increase your cycle time, decrease your cycle time by 1%, 2%, and 2% respectively. Oh, I lied. I think it's 2%, 3%, and 3%. If I'm looking at the right one, I don't think I am. Yeah, sorry. It is 1, 2, and 2. There we go. So it's not a huge increase to your cycle time, and frankly, these extensions do cost a lot. I wouldn't, unless you're going hardcore mining, I wouldn't even bother putting many points into this. Like my other accounts that I have, once I realized this and I was looking at it, I don't even put any points into um, intensive mining because it's just such a low amount of yield increase for how much EP you spend. And until I start getting into the high EP ranges, like up to 1 million or 1.5 million, I don't really want to bother with these because it's a fairly large EP investment for not a lot of return. You'd be better off saving that EP and throwing a few points into advanced robotics or basic robotics, and not even bothering with these. That being said, like I said, if you are very, very dedicated to mining, getting these up to 5, it's not that huge, but again, I would kind of recommend against it because it's a very low amount that you get for how much EP you spend. That being said, like I said, if you are going hardcore into mining, you are going to want to get these because it is increasing your yield per hour. It's just as simple as that. But if you're kind of doing a side character, just a little bit of mining, uh, don't bother with it. Efficient mining, um, you can see most of my characters actually have this at 0, and they don't drop below 75% accumulator, and that's with 0 accumulator rechargers. So unless you're going to start throwing medium miner modules onto your organos, you don't need too many points into this. Although if you are going to be doing that, you do want to get a few points in this, and you got to feel it out yourself, see where your accumulator's at, and increase this respectively, and or add less medium or more advanced miner modules respectively, or more accumulator rechargers. Whatever it takes. Now, the two good ones that you want are the I gotta find it here, extensive mining. So, oh sorry, this only increases it by 1%, so this one's not actually that good. It's the specific extensive minings. So what I do on most of my accounts or most of my guys is I get a few points into this because it increases it by 3% per cycle. So 1 point on extensive is equal to 3 points on extensive mining. So usually what I do is I think I've got about 5 points into extensive mining on all my characters, and then on my ones that aren't really dedicated to mining, I'll bump all of these up to 3, and I actually meant to bump this up to 3, so that should be at 3. So whatever I'm mining, again, I'm just kind of casual mining, kind of just trying to get resources to build a few things for myself. So I try to bump most of these up to 3. My characters that are a little bit more dedicated to mining, I'll bump it up to 5. But these ones, if you're going to mine something specifically, these ones give you, oops, that's the wrong one. Oh man, I'm all backwards here. You didn't mean to bump that it up to 3 already. Okay, don't mess up extensive and intensive. Intensive is very bad. It only gives you 1%. Extensive gives you 3%, which is much better. So again, extensive specific ones are pretty good. They give you 3%. But again, it's all pretty minor. Sorry, it's all pretty minor improvements. I love puns. Anyways, all pretty minor improvements. So if you're just kind of messing around, really get a few points into basic robotics, get enough to throw your miner modules on, make a few extra accounts, and go mine that way. All putting points into all these extensions, 3 at most, and you'll be just fine for mining. You'll get a decent yield per hour. I have a spreadsheet, which I'm not going to share with you guys. I'm sorry, but I have a spreadsheet that does all the calculations. And if you have decent skills, I'm talking like 3 to 5 points in everything, basic mining and all the other stuff. Per character, you'll be getting about 1.5 to 2 million ore per hour. And that's with your 3 main ore types. Again, if I bring this up, you can see all the ores are different, but that'd be for your Imentium, Silgium, and Stermonit. If you have decent skills, again, all around 3 to 5, and then maybe a 5 or 6 in your basic or advanced robotics, you'll be getting about 1.5 to 2 million ore per hour per account. Okay? One thing that I forgot to do on here, which I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to do pricing and buying ores last, is how to find ores. So this is where we get back to the geoscanner. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and I was actually doing some mining earlier, so I'll get this out of here, is you're going to want to put on a directional geoscanner. So what you want to do is you throw on the directional geoscanner, and I'm going to show some alternative, or talk about some alternative methods to this. You're going to want a directional geoscanner, tile-based geoscanner charges, and your miner charges. So I'll activate my guy, and I'll deploy. And you really want to try and remember to load your directional geoscanner charges before you deploy. Otherwise, it's kind of annoying. It takes about 10-15 seconds to load it, so it's just a bit of a waste of time if you forget to do it for free time before you deploy. Now, other people might have different methods for this, but I've personally found this method to be pretty effective for finding ores quickly. So what I'll do is once I deploy, I'll click my standard geoscanner, and I've already found this, but I'm going to show anyways. And then what I'll do is, my geoscanner's got horrible accuracy, by the way, so you don't need good accuracy to do this. Is okay, I see that it's pointing up towards the northeast. So what I'll do is I'll go to the right or to the left of that. Now the reason for that is you kind of want to triangulate where the ore might be. So instead of clicking up here, if I click up here and I click again and it points in the exact same direction, that doesn't really help me to tell where it is. However, if I go over here, actually let's go up here. So I want to go to the right, kind of to the northeast of where it's pointing, or to the northwest of where it's pointing, just as long as you don't go directly along the path of it. So I'm going to pause the video here, and once I get to my spot, I'll redo it. Actually, there's no way to pause this, so you guys are going to have to do the work, skip ahead in the video, because I don't want to have to splice this together, because it's really annoying to do that on my laptop and my current editing programs. So you guys can just skip ahead. I believe you guys have the ability to do that. Otherwise, maybe I'll talk about right now how to do this as another method. So as you can see, this is pretty slow. So what you could do, especially if you're planning on mining for a long time, and this is what I've done in the past, is you put a geoscanner on something really fast like a chameleon or a Yaggle. And then what you do is you go around, find the ore. You can even find multiple patches of ore. I think there's 2 to 3 patches of ore per different type of ore there is on the island. And then you just go around the island, find all the ore patches, mark them on your map, as you can see I did here. Mark them on your map with your waypoints. So the way you do that is you open the map and you just right click and you can create a waypoint. And then it'll show up on your map, so you can go around with a really fast bot, find a bunch of different stacks of ore, and then come and mine them all. On one of the other servers where I had a bunch of rivelers and a bunch of mining accounts, what I would do is I would go to a bait island, find all 3 patches of Epitron. I would go to one corner of the island, find it, go to another corner of the island, find it, go to another corner of the island, find it, and just geoscan all over the island, find all the Epitron, and then I would come back later with my miners and mine it all after I had it all marked out. It's kind of an efficient way to do it. So now you can see I'm not directly in line with this. I'm off to the side. So if the ore was up here, I would be able to see that this is pointing slightly this way. And then I'd be able to know, okay, it's way up there. So I hit this, now it's pointing back this way. Now what I'll do is I'll kind of draw a line with my mouse, see where they meet up, and I'll go a little bit past that. Because if you try to go directly on it, usually it's not going to be there. So I'll go a little bit past that to narrow it down a bit more. And you know what? Screw it. While we're doing this and we're waiting for my bot to get over there, let's talk about the next thing, which is pricing and buying ores. So my court mates at the very least, and a few people that I talk to have a lot of trouble deciding what they want to buy and sell stuff at. Now, the way that I do that is I base it on missions because, as far as I know, missions, specifically harvesting missions, which I have a tutorial up on that on my other account, but anyways, missions are one of the fastest ways to get Nick at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll open up my agent profile, go to my transactions, and you can see I did quite a few missions here. So I went for about 45 minutes, and in that time, I made about 7 million Nick. So about 10 million an hour. So from what I understand and what my current skills are at and what I'm able to do, that means on each of my accounts, if I'm doing missions, harvesting missions, I can make about 10 million Nick an hour. So that being said, if I pull this up and I'm doing HDT right now, I go to my information on here. So that means I value my time at about 10 million an hour. Because if I'm doing this and I'm not making at least 10 million an hour, that means I would be better off doing harvesting missions and just buying my ore for cheaper. So I go to this, and again, I'm doing HDT right now. I see that HDT is 1500 per charge. I got my cycle time, and I got my mined amount increased. So if I open my calculator up, and this is exactly how it calculates. I'll show you guys this in a second. I times this by, and I really hope that this is actually how it does it because I'm pretty sure it does. I times this by, I got a 47%, I got a 47.8% increase. So I times my basic by that, so 1.4781. Now the reason I do that is because it's actually an 147% increase. It's not just a 47% increase. If it was 47%, that would actually be giving me 50% less. So anyways, you have to add a 1 to whatever this number is. So if it's if it said here 120%, you'd actually need to put in 2.2 here in order to get that. So I'm getting 2,217 ore per cycle. Now I have to divide that by 10.52 seconds because I'm getting to get it per second. So I divide by 10.52 seconds. That's how much I'm getting per second, 210 HDT per second. Now times that by 60. Okay, so that's what I'm getting per minute, times that by 60. Now that's what I'm getting per hour. And again, I said for these ones, oh, sorry, I missed something. I gotta times it by 3 because I've got three miner modules, so I times it by 3. There we go. Now I'm getting about 2.2 million an hour. Earlier I said for these ones you get about 1.5 to 2 million an hour, and you know it's pretty close. It's not an exact science that I'm doing here, but it's pretty close. So again, times it by your amount of miners, times by your percent, divide by your per second, then figure out how much you make per hour, and this is what I came up with. So if I want to make 10 million an hour, that means I've got to take 10 million and divide it by this number, so 2.2 million. So I get 10 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, divided by not 2.2 million, because I need, there we go. So I get 10 million divided by 2.2 million. So it means I should charge around 4.5 to 5 Nick per ore, depending on how much I want to make. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because I don't think anybody is really pricing ore properly right now, but this is a very simple way to price your ore. If you're pricing at less than this, that means you're screwing yourself over because, like for me, for example, if I'm doing this, I might as well just be doing harvest missions. And then I'm greedy, so what I would do is I would buy at probably half of this because if I'm going to buy it at the same price, I might as well just go mine it myself, right? So if I'm buying stuff and I really need it, or sorry, if I don't really need it, then I'm going to charge at a rate that is worth my time. So I'd probably charge it about half that. Now, this is really a bit of a philosophical question about how much you want to charge at. Again, it depends on what the market is. It depends on what your skills are. If you've got all level 10 skills and you're using a Riveler with medium miners, all tier 4 gear, you're going to be making about 10 times as much as this. So in that scenario, you'd be wanting to charge, somewhere you'd be wanting to charge a tenth as much as this, and you want to be selling it at a tenth as much as this. So it depends on a lot of factors, but just for me personally, with my skills, this is what I make per hour, and this is what I mine per hour. So um, if I'm not charging at least that, I'd be better off doing something else. So that's what I do for ore right now, and it makes sense to me. If somebody else is mining at a way more efficient rate and they're able to sell at this price and make a killing off of me, for what my skills are and what I make per hour, that's good for me and it's also good for them. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now, with that being said, and again, I'll put this into the description for everybody to see of this video. Now, with that being said, we're at our spot here. So, I see that it's a little bit closer, kind of line it up a little bit, and I'm just going to cheat because I've already done this and go to where my HDT is. You can see actually it kind of lines up pretty well with where my HDT already is. So again, you can just right click autopilot on your scanner right here, which is really nice. And I'll even go to where these two line up a little bit, so it's somewhere around here. And if I click this, it'll give me an X. Now what I want to do is put on my tile based. And what the tile base does is it actually shows you the tiles. And again, I've already got this marked here, so I know when I click this, start mining, I'm going to be mining. Now with HDT, Liquizit, and Epitron, they are liquids, so all you need to do is shoot one tile and the liquid will condense and come onto that one tile. So you don't need to move, all you need to do is shoot one spot. With the other ores, they deplete, those tiles deplete gradually, so you will need to move around. And what I personally do is I'll lock up 3 tiles and shoot 1, 2, 3, and I'll mine that way. Now, let's get my friend to come out because I'm going to share with him where the HDT is. Tell him to come on over, and by my friend, I mean just more accounts for me. Now this guy, I've already discovered where it is, so I've got three industrial tunings on it. I don't need to look anymore. And really, if I wanted to, since this is liquid and I only need to shoot one spot, I could actually go back to base, switch this out, come back and just shoot on the same tile. But, I don't know, call it lazy, call it not lazy, call it being stubborn, mostly being stubborn. I don't know, I just don't like to go back to base and do that. Really, if I was lazy, I would go do it because I would mine more, and then I wouldn't have to do this for as long. But I'm just stubborn, so I'll bring my other guy over. And normally I would log on more accounts, and normally I would actually forget to bring a field container. So let's do that because you should bring a field container in order to drop your ore into. So normally I'd have 5 accounts going right now, all mining on this one spot. Drop a field container, and I'll show you guys how that works really quickly. That's pretty much it for the video though, although I probably will throw in more stuff that I forgot to talk about, so keep watching anyways. And I will remember to grab a field container. So it's just in field devices, field container, buy one of these, throw it in here. So with the field container, you can, if you're familiar with Eve, you can kind of do jet can mining. In this one, it's field can mining. As far as I know, field containers are indestructible. I've never seen one destroyed before. So you don't have to worry about someone coming and shooting it or anything like that. Even on beta, I don't believe they can be destroyed, which would be really annoying because they would probably all just die to splash damage. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm almost positive they're completely invulnerable. So all you need to do is deploy this, put a password on. Anybody in your squad won't need to put the password in. They'll automatically be able to get into it. So if you got a squad going, you don't need to worry about remembering what your password is if you have a really bad memory. All you need to do is just open it up. So for me, usually what I'll do if obviously this one's a liquid, but if it's not a liquid, I'll click at the end of the field, and you can see right here. So if the end of the field was right there, I'd click on it. I would line myself up about 100 meters away, and then I would drop the container there. Because the distance to get into a container is 100 meters. Because it's kind of annoying to have to mine and run to the container, especially if you're doing it on multiple accounts. So I like to be able to just open the container and throw my inventory into there as much as possible. But again, this is a liquid, so really nice and easy. I won't give you guys my secret password, so I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's go 4, 3, 2, 1. That way, that's great. Let's go 4, 3, 1, 2. That way, nobody will be able to guess it, because somebody might come along and try to guess it, and I'd rather them not get into it. Now, help my buddy out. Keep mining. Stack them on top of each other. Get this going. Get this going. Open up my cargo. Bring this over. And now, all I need to do is every now and then listen in the background, throw my stuff into the container. Once I'm done, go back to the terminal, grab my seeker. Again, each of my accounts has a seeker. That's this guy right here. Nice hauling bot. It's got 80 U of cargo. Go back to the terminal, grab my seekers, get a little hauling train going, come grab all my ore, bring it back to the terminal, and then I'm done. And what I do, because I'm a sick maniac, is I usually like to mine an entire field once I get going. So each field usually contains around 1,500 to 2,000 U on alpha on Hirschfield. So, I mean, I'm at 4 right now, so I'm going to be at this for a little bit longer. But that's pretty much all there is to mining, and I hope you guys found this useful. So in the future, I'll be showing you guys what you can do with this ore, and possibly how to price making stuff and all that stuff. But for now, this is how you mine. Very simple, just an organo, basic skills. This guy right here is my mining bot, or sorry, is my combat bot. So I'll show you what kind of skills he has. Nothing. You can see there's barely anything on here. Stuff's at 3, the one skill at 5. Even I don't think his basic robotic is very good for 6, so not that high. And even then, if you see this, 55% yield, 13-second cycle time. This guy who has way more skills, as you guys saw earlier, 47% yield, 10-second cycle time. So it's not even that much better. So as you guys can see, again, well, that's mostly because it's got the extra industrial tuning. But really, bumping up your skills a little bit, not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, it's mining about 30% faster, but really, at the end of the day, that's not going to be that huge of a difference. Again, until you start getting everything up to the 8 range and start getting into bigger mechs, you're actually having a dedicated mining account. Just throw a few skills in there. Don't really go overboard. It's not going to hurt you too much. So anyways, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys found it useful. And like I said, I will leave this little tidbit in the comments for you guys so you can figure out how to price your ore based on that. Thanks a lot for watching. See you later.